Hey guys, in today's video, I just want to quickly show how we can make AI sound a lot more human-like in its writing. And I want to keep this short and brief for you guys. So basically, here it is. It's just this prompt right here that I've adapted over time. And if we look at it, it is a collection of do's, which is like not that many. Basically to write simple, using an active voice. That actually makes a pretty big change, saying that. Providing concrete and actual insights, that's just something that makes it helpful. I added this note recently to make it sound more human-like because I saw that it was using very specific numbers and titles and doesn't abbreviate very much, so I told it to do that. So basically, if you see something in AI writing that you want it to do, now you could use this template and then just tweak it if you see something that you don't like. And that's just basically how I've used this over time and built it up. Then the obvious ones, don't use M dashes. Comparative structures, AIs love to do this. Like, it's not only this, but it's also why. Use a lot of metaphors and cliches. Don't generalize. Don't use in conclusion or in summary. Those ones aren't as bad. Sometimes people do those, but AI does it a lot. This one's just because sometimes it will tell the user like warnings about something and it sounds AI like when it's doing that. And this just tells it not to do that. They use a lot of adjectives and adverbs and they just inject them into sentences that don't need them. So this helps avoid that. And then these are more formatting things, like don't use basically markdown and using like random like semicolons and hashtags. Just don't use symbols that often. And then also I think I have semicolons or just normal colons also somewhere. Oh yeah, right here. Don't use colons. But this one right here is pretty important as well. Don't use unnecessary preamble like sentences or phrases. And I gave it some examples just to make sure that it really knows what I'm talking about. Because I'm not sure if I'm using like the correct vocabulary words for explaining this. Basically, here's what caught my attention. Your older content. This was from an email example, which we're going to look at later. Basically, I told it if it can remove this part without it impacting the message, it should probably remove it because this just screams like AI, and they do that often where they just add like something extra that doesn't need to be there. And another thing here, like quick idea. You don't need to say quick idea, just remove the word quick idea. And this section here is an important section you should know about, which is the banned vocabulary list, which I just add to if I see something that sounds AI like that I just know like, yeah, AIs use that word often. I tried to include all of the ones that are usually the worst offenders. I probably missed a couple. So if you see one and you're like, yeah, this sounds like AI because of that word, add it to this list and then update your prompt. And if you want this prompt, it's in the description below, but I do want to show you guys something quick that I did where I tested this prompt doing A/B testing with a bunch of different models in OpenRouter, and the results were kind of revealing about the model's abilities. And for context, the models that we used were Kimi K2 Thinking, Claude 4.5 Sonnet, and GPT-5, and then as I was filming this video pretty much, GPT 5.1 and 5.1 Chat came out, so we're trying those as well. And Gemini 2.5 Flash Preview, which used to be a model that I liked, but it's fallen out of favor for Kimi K2 Thinking and even 4.5. The reason that I used to use it over 4.5 Sonnet though was because of the price. Claude 4.5 is like 10 times the cost of Gemini 2.5 Flash. So that was the real factor there. But I'm pretty sure that Kimi K2 Thinking might cost a similar amount to 2.5 Flash. I'm not sure if that's true. I have the Kimi K2 model here, which I actually briefly want to mention. It's crazy because I thought that I would be trading speed for quality by using Kimi K2, but I forgot that it really is a race to the bottom with these inference providers where if you can have a faster, cheaper inference provider, people are going to prefer that and use it more. So it's really, this is an interesting moment that might burst the AI bubble, I feel like, where because it's an open source model, people aren't going to have very good margins on their inference. Like ChatGPT and Claude can charge whatever they want for the subscription because it's the best. And they're the only ones that can provide it because it's a closed source thing. So this is a real big game changer and a shift in the marketplace where it's like a commodity now where anybody can access this at the lowest and cheapest price. You know that you're paying the cheapest price because these companies are all competing to be the person that provides it. And their incentive is to be cheaper and undercut everybody, provide faster speeds while still just making a tiny bit of margin. So they're all racing to the bottom, which really makes the margins for companies like ChatGPT and Claude much harder to sustain, especially since I'm pretty sure they've been running at cost for so long, expecting to make it back in the future. But with open source models getting this smart, they might lose that chance to make back the money that they spent training and running these models at cost. And that could be a huge impact on the market, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But back to the analysis, I basically ran a bunch of befores and afters. I asked it, like writing the YouTube video script, that's my go-to. I also asked it to write an email to a person about their project being delayed. And this test is a bit of a stress test where I gave it the task to write me a cold outreach email offering video editing service and YouTube growth services for a YouTube channel, and I gave it my channel as the one that it would analyze. And then I did web scraping to get a ton of information for my channel. Like I gave it the most popular videos, all I think 20 of them. And then I gave it somewhere in here, I can't find where, I gave it the most recent videos. And then I also gave it the scripts for some of the most recent and some of the most popular videos. So it got the transcripts for like maybe 3 to 5 of the scripts. I forget how many I did. But this is like just a huge wall of text, and it's kind of seeing if it could still adhere to the prompt with that much going on. And I use this token counter, which I just found online, and it's 158,000 tokens, which is more than half of Kimi K2's context window at least. But now for the interesting part, how did they perform? I don't want to go through each of these step by step, like each of these run throughs, because it would take forever. But overall, the GPT-5 was very bad, the worst one. GPT 5.1 was a little better than GPT 5, but still had a lot of issues where it would do a lot of lists and was very verbose. Let's see if we can find an example of that. So this is also with and without the prompt. I'll show you that with the prompt it's a lot better, but here's GPT 5.1. They just write a lot and do a lot of lists, but honestly all models do that without using the prompt that I showed in the beginning, but M dash is everywhere. Even after the prompt though, I find that the GPT-5 models and GPT 5.1 models are still just a little bit too verbose. Sorry, that was actually 5.1 chat that we were just looking at. Yeah, this one is very verbose in writing the script. I will say though, the actual contents of the script, because this example is writing a YouTube video script, it actually sounds pretty good if you can look past the AI-ness of it. So it is a smart model, and that's something I want to get out there, that all of these models are very smart. They can do a lot of coding, and I think that they're over optimized for that, as I mentioned in the previous video. But Kimi K2 is pretty good, and sometimes I do think that Claude 4.5 Sonnet still beats Kimi K2 on certain tasks. But if you guys do want to see, here's the before. So we have M dashes, the beating heart of modern AI. It just sounds like AI. This one is Kimi K2, I think. Yeah, so now if we go to the version with the prompt being used, look at this. No M dashes anywhere, short, simple sentences. This one, it made the script a little too brief, I think, Kimi K2 thinking, but I also didn't provide that much instructions in the prompt. I didn't give it like a word count. Maybe I should do that in the future to see like 2,000 word YouTube video script to make them more uniform. But Claude 4.5 Sonnet, on the other hand, this one looks a lot better and it's very long. But I want you to look at this text itself and look for any of those AI-isms that I mentioned, where there's no M dashes, no weird preamble. That prompt really fixes a lot. And you might think that this was written by a human if you look at it. Like, let me just read this section right here. Your phone recognizes your face, your email filters spam, your video platform recommends what to watch next. All of these use neural networks. Today I'll show you exactly how they work. That sounds like a good hook to a YouTube video or the good intro. And it sounds and looks very human-like. Like the text itself, that's the main thing we're going for, is the look of the text. And it just looks much more human-like. I'm trying to look through this right now to find anything that looks like AI. And even that, like, this is a reasonable use of a semicolon or a colon, where you list a few things with commas afterwards. Let me know if I'm crazy though, but like, just look at this block of text and tell me that it's not a night and day difference compared to the other AI. In this next example, I had to tell it to write an email, and all of these emails all pretty much have way too much going on, M dashes, and this is the use case where you don't want it to look like AI wrote it. You don't want to see an M dash anywhere because people are looking at text, and we just see a list after list, and different models obviously do worse, like an M dash in the title. I have noticed that the 5.1 model is a little bit better about it. Like here, 5.1, this is without the prompt, and it actually looks decent just at first glance. And this one's probably the best pre-prompt email that I've seen. This one as well. GPT 5.1 chat is very brief, but sometimes that's good as well, because I could see myself writing an email like this. So that's one thing about the 5.1 models. They're just so inconsistent. It depends on exactly what you're trying to do. If you're trying to write a short, simple email, 5.1 chat is good. If you're trying to write a YouTube video script, it's very bad at the actual contents itself. It's oversimplified, makes it really short, and doesn't explain things very well. While 5.1 explains things pretty well, but just at too high of a level. Like it doesn't break things down well and explain them in a simple way like other models do. And then 2.5 Flash, again, just a cheaper model, but very AI looking. But now, here's the crazy part. With the prompt, look at how much better that looks. Not a single M dash in sight. I might even send this email if I was looking at it. The only thing that I would change is maybe be a little more empathetic about the issue. This one doesn't apologize at all. I think Claude 4.5 Sonnet does apologize, so this one's even better. short and sweet. This is how humans write to other humans. The other previous blocks of text that it was writing just are gone, and it just seems so much more natural. And if I was looking at this, even though it's shorter, it gives it less time to mess up, which is a good thing as well. These all look night and day different. Maybe this one, 5.1, still looks a little verbose, but if you look at it and actually read the contents, if you pause and take a look at it, you'll see that it's explaining things and is a little bit more empathetic and trying to cater to the person that's writing to, which I actually think is pretty good. So even though it has a list in here, the list is trying to like mitigate backlash for delaying the project, which I think is something humans do as well. Maybe they just wouldn't put it in a list. So maybe that's one thing that we could add to the prompt if we wanted to customize it. And let's just show it real quick because it's so easy to customize. Like, don't use lists often. Sometimes the lists are useful, so I'm just saying often so it doesn't think this is like a strict rule. But that's pretty much how I customize it. If I see something that I don't like often in the responses it's getting, I add it to the don't list and it solves the problem. And luckily for you guys, I already built it up to a pretty good place where it works for most things. Again, 5.1 chat is decent, short and sweet, still a little bit of a list. But sometimes humans do simple lists like this as well. And then 2.5 Flash, the cheapest model, still gets pretty good results. And that's what I mean. Before Communicate2 Thinking came out, I was using this for most of the script writing and stuff that I wanted to test out in the app. But now, since Communicate2 is a little bit smarter and also cheap and fast, I think it beats 2.5 Flash because it is a smarter model overall with Communicate2 Thinking. So it's just able to parse content better, which we'll see in the next example a ton. So this one is just the huge block of text that I mentioned. And it's interesting to see how well they stick to the prompt. And one thing about Communicate2 Thinking that I noticed is it really goes through the step-by-step process of processing the prompt and making sure it adheres to the writing guidelines. I know there aren't any writing guidelines in this one because this is the pre-prompt version. But basically it writes this whole big block of text with M dashes, like an M dash there, some preamble, but I noticed something concerning. That just sounds like AI. So we're gonna want that removed, but they all kind of write like that, so I can't really knock it. These just scream AI, and if you're sending a cold outreach email, even if it makes it past like the automatic spam filter, when a human looks at it, they have their own spam filter. They're like, yeah, this was just written by AI and just mass produced and sent out everywhere. But now, this is the scary part. This next one, the next example where it's with the prompt. So I just appended it to the very end. All this text doesn't confuse it. And look at this email, just visually looking at it. Try to find like the AI-ness to it. It's much harder to spot. Maybe it uses numbers a bit more. Like I'd say that maybe this part, like the 3 to 5x, might be a little bit more AI-like, but it includes very specific things from the scripts that I gave it. Sounds a lot more human-like. And even Claude 4.5 Sonnet, I found it's a longer response, but this list again. So maybe just adding that thing about don't use lists often is a good addition, because that's the only thing that I see in here that really looks like it could be AI, and maybe using less numbers. But if it's analyzing my channel and providing feedback, that's kind of a reasonable expectation that it would use numbers to help show that it knows what it's talking about. But these emails, just all one after another, look much better. The only one that didn't do good is I think GPT-5, but GPT 5.1 was a little better. Still, they love lists, so adding that might be the most helpful for the GPT models. And again, 2.5 Flash sounds pretty good. But anyways, here is the prompt again for you guys to look at. I won't make you guys type it manually. I'll put it in the description. But I do want to hear what you guys think about it if you test it out yourself a little bit, if it makes a difference for you. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.